My wife thought she could replace me. Her father thought he could erase me from the empire I built. They forgot I never design without a demolition plan. In the basement of the house I designed stands the culmination of 15 years of architectural genius maps, blueprints, and awards covering nearly every inch of wall space. The clock on my desk reads 2:30 a.m. as I meticulously adjust the final details on the Whitmore Plaza model, the crown jewel of my career, and the largest project Whitmore Development has ever undertaken. My fingers steady as ever, place the last miniature tree on the scale model while my mind wanders elsewhere. 45 years of life has taught me that foundations matter more than facades. As chief architect at America's leading real estate development company, I've built my reputation on understanding this better than anyone. What Richard Whitmore never understood when he brought me into his company or his family was that I approach everything like the military intelligence officer I once was. Every structure needs contingencies. Every design accounts for failure points. Even my marriage of 12 years to Elena Whitmore. I glance at my laptop where the tracking software displays a now familiar location. Lexington Hotel Room 1904. Sixth time in 2 months, I don't feel the knife twist of betrayal anymore. That sensation dulled after the second time. Now I watch with the calculated detachment of someone who understands the patterns of human weakness. The surveillance photos are crisp, leaving nothing to interpretation. Elena, with her perfect posture and practiced smile, entering the hotel 30 minutes after Brandon Clark Richards' young protege with slicked back hair and empty ambition. The timestamp matches her emergency meeting with clients. Excuse Richard Whitmore always treated me as a glorified draftsman, a necessary tool for his empire building, nothing more. He never respected the mind behind the designs that doubled his company's value. Brandon is cut from the same cloth, a climber who flatters and manipulates, who'll step on anyone to reach the next rung of the ladder, even if that means climbing into my wife's bed. My father's words echo in my mind. You don't need to be the strongest man in the room, Sam. Just be the last one standing. I'm not the type to punch the man sleeping with my wife. I'm the type who builds a prison around those who betray me, so perfectly designed, they won't notice the walls until they're sealed inside. I slide open the hidden compartment beneath my drafting table. Another design feature no one knows exists. Inside lies the foundation of my true masterwork. Financial discrepancies highlighted in Whitmore's books, structural compromise reports I've documented over years, and a USB drive labeled simply Aftershock. Beside these, a key to apartment 501 in a building across town, a place neither Elena nor anyone at Whitmore knows exists. They think I just draw pretty buildings. They're about to learn who really designs fate. My phone illuminates the darkness as I dial a number I haven't used in years. 3 rings. Then a gravelly voice answers, Aldridge. Is it time? Get everything ready, Victor. Aftershock begins the moment they make their move. I close the call and look at my calendar notification, 9:00 a.m. tomorrow. Whitmore Plaza presentation. A smile forms on my lips as I place the architectural model into its carrying case. All I need now is one official reason to disappear. The Whitmore Development Headquarters gleams in the morning sun as I walk through the revolving doors, the Whitmore Plaza model tucked carefully under my arm. Administrative assistants and junior architects nod respectfully as I pass, the kind of genuine respect Richard and Brandon have never bothered to earn or acknowledge. I spot Brandon across the lobby leaning against a marble column. That half smile playing on his lips tells me everything. He thinks today is his coronation, the day he officially steps into my position. If only he understood he's just a disposable piece in Richard's chess game, and now in mine. Claire Jennings intercepts me near the elevator, her normally composed face tight with concern. Sam, she whispers, eyes darting to check who might be listening. Something's wrong. I've heard rumors about a closed-door meeting scheduled after your presentation. I nod slightly. Thank you, Claire. I've anticipated this, but confirmation is always valuable. The boardroom falls silent as I unveil the model. For the next 30 minutes, I methodically explain how my design innovations will save 30% on materials, while enhancing structural integrity on unstable ground. The kind of engineering brilliance that has made Whitmore Development a market leader. Brandon interrupts every few minutes with questions designed to undermine me. Isn't this approach unnecessarily complex? And wouldn't a more traditional design be more cost-effective? Each thinly veiled attack comes with that same smug expression he probably wore while undressing my wife. I answer each question with precision, knowing it doesn't matter anymore. This performance isn't for them, it's for the record. When I finish, Richard barely glances at the model that could secure his company's future. "Sam," he says coldly, "we don't need art, we need profit." The same man who boasted about my designs to investors now dismisses them as frivolous aesthetics. An hour later, I'm invited to Human Resources. Richard Brandon and Dennis from HR wait like executioners. The termination papers are already printed. Your performance hasn't met expectations. Richard begins, not even attempting to make the lie convincing. Brandon slides the folder toward me, his smile now fully formed. Victory must taste sweet to him. For now, I sign without reading. Then I look directly at Richard. "Was this your decision? Or your daughter's?" The question hangs in the air. No one answers. I stand straightening my jacket. "I'll leave," I say calmly. "But you just signed your own death warrant." On my way out, I find Claire clearing her desk, another casualty of today's purge. I slip her a note. "Apartment 501 tonight. Bring all backup data." I pause at the wall of fame in the lobby, photographs chronicling Richard's rise to power. Not a single image of the man who designed every significant building in their portfolio. One day, I think, this place will bear the mark of the man you tried to erase. At home, Elena is already packing my belongings with the efficiency of a hotel maid. No tears, no questions, just methodical removal. She hands me a homeless shelter brochure without making eye contact. They have programs for men in transition. I stare directly into her eyes. "You and your father think you're being clever. You've just lit the fuse on a bomb I've been designing for 5 years. Her face hardens. "You're replaceable, Sam, in the company and in my life." "Well then," I reply, "let's see what a replaceable man can do to everything you have." That night at apartment 501, Claire arrives with a treasure trove: financial statements showing suspicious patterns, evidence of substandard materials, substitutions, and records of under-the-table deals between Richard and city officials. My phone pings with a message from Victor: security assets in place. Full access to Whitmore surveillance network established. I place the Whitmore Plaza model on the table, looking at Claire. They think they've backed us into a corner. They don't realize we're the ones designing the final blueprint for their fate. My laptop screen flashes with an activation code. Aftershock, Phase 1. Financial and psychological crisis. Countdown 720000. I dial a number I've kept in reserve for months. A woman answers. Sabrina Torres, speaking. "I have an investment proposal that will make the entire city look up. Meet me tomorrow morning." I glance at Claire, a cold determination settling over me. Now let's watch the Whitmore empire begin to crumble. The first step in destroying someone is to become a ghost. I methodically erase every trace of my existence, canceling credit cards, deactivating social media accounts, and cutting all communications except with Claire and Victor. For people like Richard and Elena, who thrive on control, nothing is more unsettling than silence. It's the architectural equivalent of removing support beams one by one, invisible until the moment of collapse. "Are you sure about this level of isolation?" Claire asks during our secure call. "Absolutely," I reply. "Uncertainty breeds fear. Fear leads to mistakes." My psychological campaign begins with programming an auto-dialer to place 93 silent calls to Richard and Elena over 5 days. Each unanswered call, each moment of dead air, when they answer, small cracks in their composure. The number isn't random. It's the address of Richard's childhood home, a personal touch he'll eventually recognize. I arrange for an overnight package to be delivered to Brandon's office inside my military ID card, displaying my full name, Blake Samuel Aldridge, and a handwritten note reading, "You're playing the wrong game with the wrong man." A reminder that he knows nothing about the man whose life he thought he could simply take. Through the security system I designed for Whitmore's headquarters, a system with backdoors. Only I know exist. I activate hidden cameras in the boardroom and Richard's office. Knowledge is architecture's first principle. Understand the site before you build. While they search for me, I'm studying them. Sabrina Torres proves to be exactly what I needed. Brilliant, ambitious, and harboring a grudge against Richard for backing out of a partnership years ago. Together, we organize a private meeting with Whitmore's major investors. I've brought you here because your investments are at risk. I tell them, sliding geological surveys across the polished conference table. The Whitmore Plaza site sits on unstable ground. The original designs compensated for this. I pause, letting anticipation build. Unfortunately, those designs have been modified. I accidentally reveal the changes Richard and Brandon made to cut costs, changes that transformed a masterpiece of engineering into a potential disaster. The investors' faces drain of color as they understand the implications. Who are you representing now? One of them asks cautiously. Orion Enterprises. I reply, we believe in building things that last. 3 investors withdraw their funding before the day ends. 4 others schedule meetings with Orion. Whitmore Development stock begins a nosedive that loses 28% of its value in just 48 hours. I anonymously send local journalists documentation about structural concerns in several Whitmore buildings. By morning, newspapers run headlines asking, "Is the Whitmore empire cracking from within?" For Brandon, I set a more elaborate trap. Through shell companies, I lure him into a series of high-risk property deals appealing to his greed and ambition. Meanwhile, Claire tracks his increasingly desperate financial maneuvers, documenting every illegal offshore transfer he makes in panic. Through my surveillance network, I watch Richard slam his fist on his desk, shattering a glass paperweight. When another investor calls to withdraw, Brandon paces his office, making frantic calls to salvage relationships he never truly built. And Elena, my wife of 12 years, sits in our bedroom calling my number 12 times in one night. I listen to each voicemail but never respond. "Sam, please." Her voice cracks in the final message. "Whatever you're doing, stop, people are getting hurt." What she means is she is getting hurt. The distinction matters. A text from Claire arrives. Elena's requesting a private meeting, says it's urgent and concerns Richard's life. I consider this unexpected development. Elena reaching out directly means the pressure is working. They're beginning to fracture. I text back, "Arrange it at the Wellington Hotel Room, 1904. Let her understand the significance. The hotel and room number where she met Brandon multiple times. A reminder that nothing was ever hidden from me." As I prepare to leave apartment 501, Victor sends me an audio recording. Richard's voice comes through clearly. "Transfer everything to the Cayman account. We need to secure assets before this gets worse. Brandon will handle the paperwork." Brandon's voice responds, "What about legal implications?" Richard's laugh is cold. "By the time anyone figures it out, there won't be anything left to prosecute." I smile, shutting down my laptop. They're digging their graves faster than I anticipated. I arrive at the Wellington Hotel early, selecting a position that gives me full view of the door room 1904, the same room where Elena betrayed our marriage repeatedly. Symbolism matters in architecture and in revenge. The Sam Aldridge who waits now bears little resemblance to the man she knew. My custom black suit fits perfectly against my frame, a statement of power rather than the comfortable practicality I once favored. I've transformed from the unassuming architect into something she won't recognize. When Elena enters, the shock on her face is immediate. First at seeing me, the ghost who vanished completely. Then at realizing exactly which room we're in. Her eyes dart to the bed where I know she met Brandon, then back to me. The color drains from her face. "Sam." She manages, her voice cracking. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." I remain seated, silent, watching her squirm under my gaze. Let her fill the silence. "You have to stop whatever you're doing," she pleads. "Dad's health is deteriorating. The company is in free fall." She takes a step toward me. "I know I hurt you. It was a mistake. Things weren't good between us for a long time, and Brandon was—" "You had a choice." I interrupt, my voice ice cold. "The moment you walked into this room with him. Now it's my turn to make choices." I slide a sealed envelope across the small table. Inside is my ultimatum. Richard has 48 hours to dissolve Whitmore Development and transfer all assets, projects, and ownership rights to Orion Enterprises. Elena laughs nervously. "That's insane. Dad would never—" "If he refuses," I continue as if she hadn't spoken, I'll release comprehensive reports on structural deficiencies in every major Whitmore building evidence of financial fraud, spanning 15 years, and a detailed list of structures that would become mass graves in even a minor earthquake. Her hands shake as she picks up the envelope. You're bluffing. I lean forward. The same way you were working late 6 times in this very room, I don't bluff Elena. This isn't personal revenge. This is purification. Her composure finally shatters. Tears stream down her face, but I feel nothing. The woman I loved died the first time she lied to me in this room. The moment she leaves, I activate Phase 2 of Aftershock. A text to Victor escalate internal rumors about Whitmore's financial stability. Activate material stress monitors in Whitmore Tower. 3 years ago, during a routine security upgrade, I installed sensors throughout their flagship building, sensors designed to trigger emergency protocols when activated. Through my surveillance feed, I watch Elena frantically reporting to Richard. His face contorts with rage, then fear, emotions he's always considered beneath him. He immediately calls an emergency leadership meeting, trying but failing to mask his panic. Claire's message arrives. Senior executives have begun quietly selling their personal shares. Perfect. The next morning, as Richard addresses his leadership team in Whitmore Tower's conference room, I remotely trigger the system. Structural integrity alarms blare throughout the building. The evacuation protocol I designed years ago functions exactly as intended. Controlled chaos. Employees stream out onto the street while news vans arrive within minutes, broadcasting the unexplained structural emergency at the Whitmore icon. The symbolism isn't subtle. The empire visibly crumbling. Richard's call comes exactly when I predicted. What do you want? Aldridge. His voice trembles with suppressed rage. I want you to live long enough to watch your empire rot piece by piece. I reply calmly, just like the foundations you cut corners on that I discovered. You'll never prove any of it. I already have documentation has been delivered to Building Safety Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Your countdown has begun, Richard and Claire informs me. Brandon is transferring remaining assets through a third shell company. I nod, though she can't see me. Let him, we've been waiting for this moment. After ending the call, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Proposal received. Will execute on schedule. The inspector. I smile to myself. When the authorities get involved, the real game begins. Architectural invasions require precision timing. At 12:30 a.m., I slip into Brandon's office using access codes he never knew I programmed into the system years ago. The building is nearly empty, just a few security guards whose patrol patterns I memorized long ago. I settle into his ergonomic chair, arranging the thick folder of documents on his immaculate desk. Everything in its proper place for maximum psychological impact. Then I wait in darkness, knowing his habits better than he does. Brandon arrives at 1:17 a.m. exactly when my surveillance showed he typically returns to retrieve forgotten documents before heading home. When he flips on the light and sees me sitting at his desk, the shock freezes him mid-step. Hello, Brandon. I keep my voice level. You look surprised to see a ghost. His hand instinctively reaches for his phone. I wouldn't. I advise, this conversation stays between us. His face cycles through emotions, fear, anger, then attempting a mask of confidence that fails to reach his eyes. What do you want, Sam? Come to beg for your job back? I slide the folder toward him. Page 1, your offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Page 2, wire transfers from Whitmore Development Funds. Pages 3 through 17. Every illegal financial maneuver you've made in the past 14 days. His face pales as he flips through the pages. This is complete. I finish for him. The FBI would find it quite interesting. So would the IRS. Brandon attempts to rally, you're bluffing. If you had this kind of evidence, you'd have already gone to the authorities. I smile. Who says I haven't? Right now you have one option. I slide another document across the desk. Sign over all assets you've acquired to Orion Enterprises, agree to leave the real estate industry permanently, and disappear from America. His laugh holds an edge of hysteria. And why would I do that? Because the alternative is 20 years in federal prison. Brandon's expression shifts to something more calculating. Elena was worth it, you know. She was ready to leave you long before I came along. I meet his gaze without emotion. Was she part of your plan, or just a short-term toy? Either way, you both became pawns in a game you didn't even know you were playing. His smirk falters as understanding dawns. You planned this. Sign the papers, Brandon. His signature is shaky when it finally comes. I leave a one-way ticket to Singapore on his desk. If you ever return to America, copies of every financial crime you've committed will be on the FBI's desk the following morning. The next day, Claire delivers divorce papers to Elena with my message. I keep my promises you'll live comfortably enough to remember what you lost. The settlement is more generous than she deserves, but serves its purpose of permanent ending. Elena calls 17 times that day. I never answer. She texts apologies, explanations, please. I read each one, but feel nothing. The woman in those messages is a stranger to me now. For Richard, I prepare the final checkmate. The contract transferring all assets and control to Orion Enterprises arrives on his desk with one condition: a public press conference, where he must acknowledge his wrongdoings and announce his retirement, for health reasons. Richard has called every political connection he has. Claire reports, no one will touch him now. I smile grimly. We've cut every lifeline he had. The press conference is a masterpiece of public humiliation. Richard, once imposing, now appears diminished and defeated as cameras capture his capitulation. When reporters ask about my involvement, Richard reluctantly admits, Blake Samuel Aldridge was the true architect behind the great works our company claimed as its own. The truth finally spoken aloud. Instead of destroying Richard physically, I arrange 24/7 security to ensure he lives not for protection, but to force him to witness his legacy being dismantled and rebuilt under my direction. The greatest punishment isn't death, but having to exist long enough to see everything you built erased. I receive confirmation that he understands this when he sends a one-word text. Why I don't bother responding, he knows why. 3 weeks later, Claire enters my new office at Orion headquarters, formerly Whitmore Tower. Brandon has left Singapore. He's trying to return to the U.S. through alternative routes. I smile, turning from the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Let him come. Some people need a second lesson to understand the game is over. 6 months later, I stand atop what was once Whitmore Tower, now reborn as Orion 1. The transformation is more than cosmetic. What was once a monument to one man's ego has become something the city genuinely needed. A mixed-use development with affordable housing units, community spaces, and commercial areas that serve the public, rather than just wealthy tenants. The most symbolically potent change occupies the top floor, a museum documenting Whitmore Development's true history. Every corrupt deal, every cut corner, every structural compromise that put profit over safety, all meticulously presented with supporting evidence, truth rendered in glass and steel. Mr. Aldridge, we're ready for you, my assistant says, interrupting my thoughts. The grand opening ceremony has drawn media from across the country. As I approach the podium, flashbulbs pop like stars. 6 months ago, these same reporters were covering Whitmore's mysterious collapse. Now they're documenting its rebirth. Orion 1 isn't just a building, I begin. It's a promise to this city, a promise that structures should serve people, not power, that beauty can coexist with function, that profit should never come at the expense of safety. The applause is gratifying, but it's Sabrina Torres's announcement that cements today's victory, a national partnership between her investment group and Orion Enterprises, expanding our vision across America. When the mayor presents me with the Architect of the Community Award, the irony isn't lost on me. What began as revenge has evolved into something more meaningful: structures that will outlast all of us. After the ceremony, I receive my most important visitor, Richard Whitmore. Security escorts him through the museum, not for my protection, but to ensure he sees every exhibit detailing his crimes. He's aged decades in 6 months. His shoulders slump beneath his still expensive suit. The imperious gaze that once made junior architects tremble now looks hollow. I had them bring you here for a reason, Richard. I say as we stand before the central exhibit, structural plans showing how his cost-cutting measures endangered thousands of lives. I wanted you to see what you built and what I've rebuilt. You've won. He says bitterly, the words barely audible. No, I correct him. I didn't play your game. I simply demolished your stage to build something worthwhile. His eyes dart around, searching for sympathy, but finding none. What happens to me now? Nothing. That's your punishment. You'll live longer than I expected, Richard, men like you always do. And every day you live, you'll see the Aldridge name on buildings that will stand for generations after yours crumbled. Brandon's lesson comes a week later. Despite my explicit warning, he returned to America through Canada, making contact with former associates and attempting to sell proprietary information about Orion projects. He's meeting with potential buyers tomorrow. Claire reports, offering them structural details of upcoming Orion developments. I nod. Time for his final lesson. Instead of confronting him directly, I simply release the complete video evidence of his financial crimes to major news outlets and federal authorities. The footage shows Brandon explicitly directing illegal transfers, manipulating shareholder funds, and engaging in textbook financial fraud. FBI agents arrest him at the airport as he attempts to flee again. The 20-year federal prison sentence makes headlines as a warning to others in our industry. Brandon Clark becomes a cautionary tale taught in business ethics courses. Elena retreats to a small town 3 states away. She lives comfortably on the settlement, but isolated from her former social circles. Every few weeks she attempts contact, sending messages that grow increasingly desperate. "She's called again," Claire says, holding up her phone. "Do you want to respond this time?" I shake my head. Some things are best forgotten. On the night Orion 1's lighting system is fully activated for the first time, I stand on the observation deck, the Phoenix emblem. My new corporate symbol glows against the night sky, visible for miles. The metaphor isn't subtle, but then the best architectural statements never are. Victor joins me, leaning against the railing. "So what now, Sam?" Satisfied. I consider the question carefully. Not because they fell, I finally answer, but because I built something they can never tear down. My phone buzzes with Claire's message. Elena has texted for the 10th time this month. My response is immediate and final. No reply necessary. From now on, only my work leaves a legacy, not those who betrayed me. As the city stretches below us, bathed in the light of Orion 1, I understand what my father meant about being the last man standing. It was never about outlasting your enemies. It was about building something that outlasts everyone, even yourself.